Conference, I'm hardwired into our party. My mum joined the Labour Party, still going strong, when Clem Attlee was Labour's leader. And I delivered my first leaflet in Loughton in Essex in 1955, the year that Winston Churchill resigned as Prime Minister. It was the usual arrangement: no leaflets, no grub, a caring, sharing family. And I've been a Labour student, a Labour councillor, a Labour MP for 30 years and 12 years in Labour's cabinet. And I'm still delivering leaflets. But I've now even started blogging on the internet. Right. Now, the other day, Gordon Brown brought along to Cabinet the man who actually invented the internet, Sir Tim Berners-Lee. He's a Brit. And with that great gravitas in my voice, which befits an alleged elder statesman, I told the Cabinet that being introduced to Sir Tim Berners-Lee was like meeting the inventor of the wheel. Quick as a flash, that young Ed Miliband pipes up. And what was that like, Jack? Absolutely brilliant. He's going to go far, that lad, along with his brother, of course. And Ed's right. I've been around a bit. And there's one thing that my experience tells me. You never write Labour off. I tell you this, we've faced tougher times before, and we've come through them. We don't shirk the challenge. What we do instead is to deliver. Now, if I'd told the people in Blackburn back in 1997, at that election, that if they elected a Labour government, they'd see a £120 million new hospital, hundreds of old homes replaced by new and affordable housing, and more than twice as many youngsters getting 5 or more good GCSEs, they'd frankly have thought that I'd lost the plot. But we've delivered that and much more. And we are the first government since the war to have overseen a fall in crime. What did the Conservatives do on crime? They doubled crime. Never, ever forget that. And we're a government which has delivered what's been called a quiet constitutional revolution. Human Rights Act, freedom of information, devolution, independent national statistics, more open government, more power where it belongs, with the people. And take Lord's reform as well. We removed most hereditary peers in 1999. But now we've got a bill before Parliament to end the hereditary principle once and for all. And very soon, we're going to be publishing detailed legislative proposals on a new second chamber to replace the House of Lords altogether. A chamber elected by the people and for the people. And then, you know, Conference, there are those laws to protect the rights of the weak, the powerless, the minorities. We've now got the best legislation in Europe on race, on religion, on women, and it will be better still with Harriet Harman's Equality Bill. And you know, it's only Labour who's ever acted in this way, ever introduced laws like this. Not a line in a law, ever, from the Conservatives, except for just one piece of legislation on discrimination against gay people. And you know, you remember what the Tories did, they passed a law to ensure that discrimination against gay people was worse. It was called Section 28. It was disgusting, it was despicable, and we replaced it. Now, our work is not done, but huge progress has been made. Just look at what we've achieved in the last year in my department. Stronger protections against forced marriage, much tougher enforcement of employment tribunal awards, the opening up of family courts, measures to prevent house repossessions, and giving local communities much more say within their local criminal justice system. For example, as Diana mentioned, last December I brought in high-visibility jackets for offenders on unpaid work. It's called Community Payback. Since then, more than 2 million hours have been worked on almost 7,000 such schemes. And increasingly, it's the local community deciding what work those offenders will do to pay back for the crimes which they offended against that community. It's great and it's working. And we've, over the years, dramatically improved services available for victims. We've trebled the money for that great voluntary organisation, Victim Support. We've provided victims and witnesses with much, much better services within courts. We've appointed an independent victims champion in Sarah Payne, and soon there'll be the first victims commissioner. But we want to go further, better to bring all those services for victims together. So I can announce today that later on this year, we'll be unveiling detailed proposals to create the first ever National Victims Service. And in a parallel to the way in which the probation service is there for the end-to-end management of offenders, this new National Victim Service will be there to provide one-to-one care and support for victims of crime. The service will take some years before it's fully operational, but we're going to make a start right now. I've had to make some economies in my department, but I have found the money to get this going. 2 million extra for this year, £8.5 million for next year. And working with victim support, we're going to start with those bereaved victims whose lives have been torn apart by the murder or the manslaughter of a loved one. And over time, the service will be available to everyone who's been a victim of crime. If they want more support, we'll be there for them. This, you know, is a pioneering idea. It's what Labour's about, supporting those who need and most deserve our help. Now, conference, I didn't come into politics to cut services, but for sure, I think we all agree the taxpayer should get value for money. And sometimes that does mean making some really difficult decisions. We're not going to shirk from them. We'll act with care. We're going to treasure the things which matter the most, like our key public services. But in contrast, for the Tories, public service is almost a term of abuse. So I just say this to anyone thinking of voting Conservative. Be very careful of what you wish for. Don't take the risk. We'll make savings where we have to, and in contrast, the Conservatives will cut because they want to. And entrusting the Conservative Party to reduce the public sector deficit is like going along and asking Sweeney Todd for a short trim. And that George Osborne is already displaying a ghoulish enthusiasm for wielding the knife. He can't wait He can't resist. It's in the Tories' DNA, I tell you. And that guy and David Cameron have made the wrong calls on every single big decision on getting out of this recession. Every single one. They've been wrong, and Gordon Brown and Alistair Darling have been right. And conference, believe me, people are starting to wake up to the Tory danger. My mum, I'm pleased to say, is still going strong, aged 88. She can't knock on doors these days, but she's still active, making the case for Labour. And the other day, a friend of hers, a lifelong Conservative, because we're a very broad family, the other day a friend of hers, a lifelong Conservative, called her to say that at the age of 79, she's made a very big decision. For the first time in her life, she's not taking the risk of voting Conservative at the next election. She's voting for Gordon Brown. And she says she's voting for Gordon Brown because he's reliable. She believes in him. And I tell you this, if we show self-belief, we will win next year. We all believe in this party, what it stands for, what it's done, what only it can do. We have the values, we have the record, we've got the policies for the future. And now, conference, what we've got to go out and do is to fight for these in the mother and father of a battle and win. Thank you.